There's a different dog in every time. Bum, 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 bum. Can we hear me? Bum, 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 bum. Can we hear me? Yeah, we can hear me. Let's go live. We're going to war, fam. Keith, what's happening? Is that the Keith? Keith, you want to go live with me? You got anything to tell the people? You tell them your story about NAK up. Well, apparently we're bombing Iran. Apparently that's happening. Hopefully that's the extent to how far it goes. Too shy. You still with that same chick? What's up, Aaron? No. Sorry to hear that. You want to go live with me, Aaron? Talk about Iran? Talk about Iran? What did Iran from? Aaron, when are you going to make me that 4 low supplement? Delilah, I'm busy. Please go outside, okay? I'm making a video. I'm probably not going to end up getting much interaction here on a Sunday morning. I don't know what I'm thinking. Everyone's at church, at brunch. Everyone's spending time with their family. Kind of, just shooting the shit. What's up, Baikal? Rosama, what's cracking? You guys got any questions? Maybe if Aaron wants to go live with me, we'll talk about 4 low supplement. That'd be fun. Aaron, you want to talk about the 4 low supplement? How's the kelp important to the program? I wouldn't say it's as important as some of the other supplements, but it's just you kind of think of it like a broad multivitamin. It just helps provide enough minerals to the body. It helps remineralize the body, and it's cheap. It's readily available. It has all the trace minerals, all the ultra trace minerals. So it's just a broad spectrum sort of mineral supplement. That's all it is. How important is it? It's all relative. I would say probably other supplements are more important. Let's say you have a low NAK ratio. I would say the NAK up is going to be probably more important than the kelp. The kelp's just kind of like a broad one that's just helping your overall body. Is Valence coming out with kelp? Yeah, at some point. I usually just buy Nature's Way off of Amazon still. I don't know how it relates to the Endomet quality, but Nature's Way seems to be a pretty good brand. I don't know how much the quality matters with kelp compared to other supplements. It seems to be kelp is kind of kelp. I don't know, but I don't know as much about that stuff. Shilajit. I've never actually tried Shilajit, so I can't really speak on it from personal experience. I know people that seem to love it. I'm a little skeptical. I don't know if it's really much better than kelp, and there might be some toxicity issues. If you're gonna try Shilajit, I would recommend you try from a place like they third party test. Why kelp instead of sea moss? Kelp's kind of it's just like a better animal to eat. It's just like certain animals are healthier to eat than, it's better to eat a cow than to eat alligator, right? Certain animals are just healthier to eat. The kelp is healthier than things like sea moss. You kind of think of sea moss and algae and stuff. Those things are lower on the food chain. Kelp is more like a plant. It's more like a vegetable. So things like the sea moss and the algae, things like that, they're more, they accumulate more toxins because they're more like a bottom feeder, right? And they're lower on the hierarchy. They're lower on the food chain. We should have a meetup, Keith. I don't know where you're at. I think me and Lewis are going to Florida in November to hang out with Aaron and Matt. You come out to Florida. Aren't you in the South? The South will rise again. Yeah, you're in Tennessee. That's not far from Florida. Can't you just drive to Florida? Rolly Image was cracking. Okay, I gotta do the pop out chat. Yeah, you're in Tennessee. I'm not sure the exact dates. I know it's gonna be November though. It's gonna be Tampa area, I believe. I don't think you don't even have to fly from Tennessee to Florida, right? You can just drive. It's not that far. It's what, 6 hours max to Tampa from where you're at? I'm not sure. I was going to talk to Aaron about the new Forlo supplement, but he's cooking up something. I'm not sure I quite understand your question, Roll Image. Are slow oxidizers supposed to burn through fat? I don't know what you mean. I don't know if you're asking if you're too skinny, like you're burning through fat too fast. I'm not really sure what you're asking. Can you rephrase the question? Are you asking if you think you need more fat? But yeah, Valence is working on a new 4-low supplement, which I think will actually be one of the biggest. You know, out of all the what they've done, most of the supplement line now, in my opinion, out of any they could do next, you know, now that especially that they've done, you know, the fast oxidizer ones, probably the 4-lows would be the most helpful for, you know, the program. Because they're getting pretty close to finishing the line, and a specific 4-low supplement would help a lot, you know, because, and it'd probably sell good. I mean, a lot of people, so many people are in fucking 4-lows nowadays. Eating carbs slows down my metabolism. If I eliminate them, then I burn through nutrients too quickly. But that lecithin helps to provide fat to burn through. This gives me energy. The lecithin gives you energy. That's good. If you're noticing that it gives you energy, you might want to eat more eggs. Eggs have quite a bit of lecithin in them. And fat. Well, if you're in slow oxidation, you don't need to eliminate carbs. I mean, you don't need to eliminate carbs even in fast oxidation. Fast oxidizers still need some carbs. It's more of a low carb diet, but they still need some carbs. I would just kind of follow your intuition too. If you feel you need a little more fat, you know, eat a little bit more fat. If you feel you like you need a little bit more carbs, you know, don't, especially as you progress and you get more in tune to your body, you know, don't get too caught up in what the program is supposed to be. You know, it is rough guidelines, especially the diet. Many people make that mistake. They think the diet is like too specific. And, you know, Dr. Wilson's literature doesn't help necessarily, because, you know, it's very, very specific on his website. But there's wiggle room, okay? And to be honest, especially with the valence supplements, like, you don't need to follow the diet 100% in order to heal. And so if you feel you need a little bit more fat, eat a little bit more fat. If you feel you need a little bit more carbs, eat a little bit more carbs. It's not that big of a deal. It's not. And there's a lot of variables as well. Size, you know, like you're talking about, like your metabolism. Also, just your activity level is a variable. You know, so there's a lot of variables with the diet. Don't be afraid to make adjustments. And don't get too caught up in your own head, especially about, like, you know, how specific it needs to be. There's definitely wiggle room on the diet. And like I said, especially with the valence supplements, it's not necessary that you follow the diet 100% in order to make great progress. Okay. Like I tell people, it's better that you do the diet 80% and then go to bed early than do the diet 100% and then you're going to bed like midnight. Okay? It's all relative. It's all relative. You're welcome, Rolly Image. I hope that helps you. But yeah, if you feel like you need more fat or more carbs. Just don't be afraid to shift it. How do you know if your copper is dumping? There's any number of ways. I mean, it's hard to know for sure, you know, if you're dumping copper, unless you have like a test done and you're obviously eliminating a bunch of copper. But I would say the most common thing with like copper dumping, and this can be true of like dumping metals in general, it's just like kind of like you're catching a cold. So you might have like lymph swelling, you know, you might have like you're catching a cold, like a runny nose, sore throat, that kind of stuff. I would say that is one of the more common signs that you're dumping copper. It could be. Yeah, anxiety, heightened fear. That could definitely be a sign of copper detox. Is neck shoulder area stiffness? It could be. It could be a sign that you need to shift something in that area. You know, don't be afraid to see a chiropractor. You know, pop your own neck or. Yeah, if you're feeling the anxiety and stuff, and you also have the metal taste in your mouth, like especially if it tastes like a penny. Like, I don't know if you've ever tasted. Well, the new pennies don't have as much copper because copper is becoming too expensive, so they can't actually make pennies out of copper anymore. But especially like an older penny, I don't know if you've ever like tasted one, but yeah, a lot of times it can taste like there's copper in your mouth when you're dumping copper for sure. Help grow teeth longer? I don't know about growing teeth longer. It can definitely help change your bite, especially like along with the pulling down exercise and chiropractic adjustments and improving your posture. It definitely can help change your bite and just help your overall like jaw development and your jaw strength and like that kind of stuff. But actually growing your teeth longer, I don't think your teeth really grow longer. I regret to inform you. I mean, maybe. Sometimes there's other modalities that you can do outside of mineral balancing that can help with like growing teeth. Like you can, like they have different protocols where like you rub like stuff on the teeth and stuff. Like, I don't know how effective any of them are, but you're probably not going to be able to make your teeth grow longer. At least I've never heard of that. You know? Maybe though. How can your bones change? Your bones will become stronger as you eliminate metals from your bones. Also, the placement of them can shift. You know, part of your structure, like what you're talking about with your jaw. Like with your bite, you know, your bite is part of your bone structure, and so the bones can shift. But other things can sometimes help your bite as well, like chewing mastic gum and like jaw strengthening exercises. That can definitely help. Your bones will also become somewhat lighter as they eliminate metals and replace them with things like, you know, better forms of calcium. Yes. Yeah, mineral balancing does tend to delay the gray hairs. And like gray hair, it's easier to prevent than to undo. It's pretty hard to undo gray hair. It's easier to delay or prevent. Once your body has gray hairs, it doesn't usually, for whatever reason, it's kind of like balding in that way. Like once you bald as a man, it's pretty hard to get it back. have adrenal insufficiency, so carbs lower cortisol a lot for me. If avoiding it helps me reduce cortisol, isn't that preferred for increasing oxidation rate? So you're saying you are in slow oxidation? I kind of think you're overthinking it. You know, some people can handle carbs better than others at certain times. If you feel like you're doing better off of lowering your carbs a little bit, then just lower your carbs. You don't get too in your head about cortisol and oxidation rate. And you're getting the exact right amount of carbs. It doesn't matter that much. And if you feel like you need a little bit more or a little less, then I would say that's probably where you should go. All right. Anyone else got any questions or anything? Nope. That I use is still going to be Pectosol. Just because with Pectosol, I know that there's less chance of cross-contamination, there's less toxicity. It's a more natural, gentle product, I think, and you still get most of the benefits. It's usually powerful enough for most people. But with me and my clients, I don't usually just give everyone binders. I just kind of use it as like more of a remedy. So like when people start, I don't just put people like everyone on a binder. I just kind of tell people, if you're detoxing too much and you feel like you're getting too backed up and some of the other things aren't working, like maybe drinking more water, eating more vegetables, doing more coffee enemas, drinking some distilled water, just, you know, the other things aren't working. You know, sometimes even just pausing the supplements can be quite effective. Then I'd tell people that you can take some Pectosol like once or twice a day. Take it away from meals. You know, just take it with water, 1 to 2 scoops. But binders do have their place. I wouldn't say, you know, it's important, quote unquote. Like I said, some people need the binders more than others. And some people, you know, they're able to handle the supplements and they're able to detox quite well, especially when they're doing the other stuff. Like they have plenty of kidney support and things like that. And so so some people don't need the binders. Like me, myself, I don't feel that I really need the binders. So I don't personally use the binders myself. But yeah, some people, if they start dumping a bunch of metals, like a bunch of copper, you know, copper could be quite brutal for some people. And so if they're dumping a bunch of copper and they need something to help flush their system faster, then yeah, some Pectosol. I think Matt likes the Zeolite. I personally just use the Pectosol because I have less questions about it and I feel like it's safer and it's more gentle and it still seems to get the job done good enough. So yeah, that's the benefit, you know. What's your recommendation for 4 lows with dosing CalMag Fusion? I'm usually doing like 3, 3, 4, but you know, sometimes I might go up to like 4, 4, 4. Well, usually most of the times with the Valence supplements nowadays, I'm just supplementing them twice a day, just because it makes the program simpler for people. And I've noticed that the Valence supplements are powerful enough, in my opinion. You only need them twice a day. And just when people have busy lives and things like that, it's harder to ask of them to take the supplements 3 times a day. Like taking 10 supplements 3 times a day, That's a lot to ask of most people. So it also depends how like deep in 4 lows they are. But around 4, so like 4 in the morning, 4 at night. You could do like 4, 4, 4. So yeah, that's my current kind of dosaging with the 4 lows. Yeah, I could do my hair test at some point. For sure. That'd be another fun one. And you can take even more of the CalMag Fusion, especially if you're in 4 lows. But it's hard to ask people to take more than like 4. You know, that's a lot of swallowing. For most people, honestly, they probably shouldn't take more than like 4. Might cause like diarrhea and things. I don't know how many tests I've done on myself. A lot. He wouldn't go more than 2, 2, 2. Yeah, I personally just do the supplements twice and then I do 4, 4. The CalMag's not going to shift things as much as the other supplements, so you can. I don't think the dosaging is as specific or as important as some of the other ones. Like, you know, like the zinc and the NAK up, the dosaging on those is really important because you can flip people too fast and things like that. But with the CalMag, but I recommend more than that. Yeah, even though that's what Aaron says, most practitioners recommend more. And a lot of practitioners even recommend more of the CalMag than I recommend. So I don't know his specific reasoning behind that low of a dosage. How complicated is it to learn HTMA? It depends how deep you want to go. Like, you know, just like anything, you can learn this like the basics pretty quick, but mastery is more difficult. I don't think it's as complicated as some people think. You know? Alright, so we got a question on the YouTube. Hello, can steam sauna get the same benefits as infrared? Yeah, you get the same overall benefits. Like, you're still going to be sweating out heavy metals. You still are going to, like, loosen up the fascia. You're going to be, you know, unclogging your pores. You're going to be helping fight infections, things like that. The infrared is just like a step above. So the energy is penetrating deeper. You're getting more energy into the body in the form of red light. And you're going to be detoxing faster and at a deeper level. Does that make sense? So the steam sauna and the infrared sauna, you know, they're doing similar things. So the infrared sauna is another level. Does almond butter and tahini increase arthritis symptoms? No, they shouldn't. Not directly, at least. Not directly. What metals are easier? Typically, the easiest metal to eliminate and the one that people eliminate first is aluminum. Partially because everyone already has so much aluminum in them, and also partially because aluminum is just an easier metal to eliminate. So I think of like aluminum, it's like light compared to something like lead. Lead's a much heavier, more toxic metal, and so the lead, it's deeper in the tissues. It's just harder for the body to eliminate. Same thing with like cadmium. Even copper tends to be harder to eliminate than aluminum. So the easiest metal is aluminum. I would say followed by like the amigos in general, like manganese. Maybe manganese would be second. So I would say those two, aluminum and manganese, are probably the easiest to eliminate. In general, just the heavier and more toxic the metal, the harder it is to eliminate. So like on a hair test, probably the hardest to eliminate is like cadmium. Like it's pretty rare to see people eliminate a lot of cadmium. Lead's another one that's harder. Even nickel, although nickel's kind of in between. Same with like mercury. And then copper is kind of in between as well. Iron is probably one of the easier ones, but not as easy as aluminum and manganese. Or toxic potassium. Toxic potassium is another one that gets eliminated, is one of the first ones to get eliminated. Same type of thing. Potassium's obviously not a much lighter element. I would say those three are the first three to usually be eliminated. Either like aluminum, manganese, or toxic potassium. Then the next group would be like iron, mercury, nickel, copper. And then the next group would be like lead, cadmium. Yeah. How are kids' hair tests looking today? Not great. Neuropathy? Well, I mean, it depends. Like, have you always had? If it depends on if the person's always had neuropathy. A lot of neuropathy is just like overall aging and slow metabolism, slow oxidation, and low body temperature. And also inability to like metabolize glucose great. So I would say neuropathy is just more a sign of like general malaise, like just aging, lower body temperature, slow oxidation, heavy metal buildup. Usually it's also a sign of like being at least somewhat diabetic. So usually there's a blood sugar imbalance. So it's never one thing, especially like something like neuropathy that's systemic. How many grams of protein and fat do you recommend minimum for a slow oxidizer to don't undereat and recovering well? It depends how much you're exercising a little bit. Let's see here. Generally, let's see, do you recommend for slow? So generally around like a tablespoon of fat per meal for a slow oxidizer. Let's see, how many grams is that? Grams of fat in a tablespoon. Let's just use butter. The thing is that one of them needs density, so it depends. So around 10 grams of fat per meal. Yeah, there can be mercury toxicity for neuropathy cases, but again, it's never that simple. It's never as simple as neuropathy is caused by mercury. Is coconut water okay to incorporate into a mineral balancing program, or does it contain toxic forms of potassium? It probably contains some toxic forms of potassium. It's also somewhat yin, which could be a problem. If you're drinking it during the summer, it also depends like a little bit on your climate. Like if you live in a hot area, or it's like the summer, and you're exercising quite a bit, so you're losing a lot of electrolytes through your sweat, then like some coconut water I think would be fine. Especially if you're still eating like plenty of red meat and things like that to counteract the effects of the coconut water. But I wouldn't recommend it as a staple. And it probably does contain at least some toxic forms of potassium. But if you're on a mineral balancing program and you're eating plenty of sea salt, you're eating your kelp, you're eating cooked vegetables, you're eating plenty of red meat, you're not going to absorb the toxic potassium like you would. So the program does act as a shield. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it as a staple. A little bit depends upon where you live, like the climate and things like that. Like where does a coconut grow? You know? Most of us, like in the Western world, wouldn't have had access to coconuts. So I think there's a little bit of genetics as well at play with food. Like I would imagine if you're from Jamaica, you can or like you're from the Caribbean, your genetics probably allow you to eat more coconut. Is mineral balancing essentially a heavy metal detox program? No. The heavy metals or detox is a byproduct. Mineral balancing is a system to create healthier humans. And heavy metal elimination is only one aspect of creating healthier humans. So no. It's easier to describe that way. So, a lot of times we describe it as a heavy metal detox program, but I wouldn't say it's the complete truth. People get overly fascinated by metals. And also, metal science is all the rage, so people love to make posts about metals. But healing is something more than that. But it is a heavy metal detox program. But that's just one of its components. It's also a trauma release program or many other things. Yeah, chromium can be an amigo. It's not as often, that it gets eliminated along with. Usually, the amigos that get eliminated together is just going to be aluminum, manganese, and iron. But chromium and selenium can sometimes be an amigo. Just not as often. I don't know why he's pulling his books off Amazon. Maybe he can't afford to publish them. I don't know. I can't tolerate more than 10 minutes in the steam sauna. Is that enough? Yeah, just do what you can handle. The goal would be to work your way up to like 30 minutes. But that can take time. And if you can't handle more than 10 minutes, you're still getting some benefit from 10 minutes. There's enough is it's all relative. So you will get some benefit from the 10 minutes. But if that's all you can handle, that's all you can handle. How to get rid of warts on the feet. The sauna can help. Also, you can just burn them off. Sometimes mineral balancing or detoxing with the sauna is enough to get warts off. But I mean, you can go to the doctor and get them burned off, or you could buy wart kits. I think they usually burn them off with liquid nitrogen. Is it safe to have apricot seeds? I wouldn't recommend them on a daily basis. No, they're not a staple. Is it safe? I mean, it's safe. They're not going to kill you. If that's your question. How do you correct acne forever? Well, you use the sauna, get your pores working better, make sure that your skin is healthy that way, and then balance your copper and do a mineral balancing program, and then your acne will go away. Also, don't put a lot of stuff on your face. Like, most things tend to clog our pores. Even like the acne medications that you rub on your face. Just touching the face in general causes more acne. But yeah, sauna usage and then also correcting copper. Should cancer patients stay away from meat and eggs? Not meat, but they should eat less red meat and eggs, yeah. But they should still eat some meat, like chicken. Why do some people are more prone to gain weight when they are sick and others lose too much? I think I eat enough but still gain weight. It could be genetics. Some people have parasites. A lot of people that are actually have trouble gaining weight in our society nowadays, they actually still look sickly. But no matter how much they eat, they still can't gain weight. I know people like this. And it's because they actually have... My intuition is that they just have a bunch of parasites, and there's so many worms and stuff in their intestines that it's eating the food that they eat. And so so even if they eat more calories, they can't gain weight because they're just feeding the parasites more. It's kind of gross, but it's true. So that could be part of it, parasitic load. If you eat enough but still gain weight, I mean, that can be a sign of your slower metabolism, but that can also be like the fact that you are healthier and your body's more efficient. Like especially like as you get healthier, you actually don't need that many calories. Your body becomes quite efficient, and a lot of people on a program can gain weight quite easily if they get off of it. But there's like genetics at play. It can be depending upon your oxidation rate. Some people are in more extreme, slower, fast oxidation. Are the blue corn tortillas a net negative due to seed oils? No. Would it be preferable if they weren't seed oils? I mean, probably, but the whole seed oil thing is overrated. So the blue corn chips are still worth it. You know, it still locks in the nutrients in the food. Seed oils have become a thing like microplastics, where it's just, you know, it's become the mainstream way to blame everything on seed oils and plastics. But I mean, the healthiest societies in the modern era eat lots of seed oils. Like the Japanese. The Japanese eat tons of seed oils, and they're much healthier than the average American. So it is important to get balanced fat intake, but especially if you're eating fish or you're taking plenty of omega-3s like we recommend on a program, then that will counteract any negative effect from the seed oils. So, still a net positive. How long does it take to crack copper? It can take years. But, you know, it happens over time. And so most people, they balance their copper more and more. But yeah, we still like the blue corn chips. I mean, if you can find them made with like olive oil or something, that's better, or like coconut oil, or. But most of them are going to be seed oils, but it's still worth it. What's up, Pepe? Alright, guys, I'm about to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to go live again. I know I've been taking a break, but I hope to do these more often. These are always fun. Potatoes are such a good source of potassium. Why aren't they generally included in NB diets? Well, just because they have potassium doesn't mean that they're all that. Lots of things have potassium. They're just not as nutrient dense in other ways. They're a little bit more irritating. Sweet potatoes and yams are good. Also, you can have, I imagine you're referring to white and red potatoes. You can have those in moderation. They're just not as much as staples as some people think they should be. And you get potassium from other things. It's not hard to get enough potassium. Just sea salt has a lot of potassium in it. Alright guys, take it easy. I'm going to take off.